This is Fred Beck from Fred Beck's Fighting, proudly sponsored by Empire Fight Store, and very lucky today we joined in person by Jamie Moore. Jamie, it's good to see you, mate. What's the difference between London and Manchester then? We'll start with that then, since you're down in London today.
What's the difference? Yeah. Manchester is up north and London's down south. Did you not go geography in class, Fred, or what?
I never took geography, no.
No? Well, it's a little bit further north than London.
Well, I know the people are a lot more friendly up in Manchester. Is that true? When I went, yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, do you know what? I think in general, maybe they're a bit more sort of standoffish in London than they are in Manchester. But no, do you know, I didn't really used to like London when I first started coming down here. When I first retired, I was working for Sky and stuff. I didn't really like it, but yeah, I've warmed to it. Yeah.
Really? Yeah, people are a lot more, I guess, unfriendly. Because when I went to Manchester to look at the uni there, Salford, you see people saying, oh, they don't look very friendly, but then they end up being like really nice and really helpful. So it did seem a little bit odd. But you're obviously here today with Chantelle Cameron. How do you think she gets on Saturday night?
Yeah, I think it's a good fight for her. I think Bustos has got a lot of experience at the top level, and I think Chantelle is in the position and situation where she needs fights like this to sort of compare her to the other world champions, sort of in and around her weight division, and to make a statement in that sense. I think she's waiting for this Cali Reese fight to materialise, and it's not really happening at the moment. So the next best thing she can do is stay active against good fighters, what are going to give her a good yardstick to where she is in terms of potential opponents in the future.
Is there any disappointment or kind of, maybe not lack of motivation, but yeah, I guess it was disappointment that fight couldn't materialise, the unification fight couldn't happen?
Yeah, of course, obviously. It's always disappointing when potentially a big fight like that, fight for all the belts, undisputed title fight, doesn't materialise. But sometimes there's nothing you can do. You've just got to do your own thing and crack on until if and when it does happen. So she's carried herself really well throughout it all. She stayed dedicated, and here we are taking a difficult fight, but it's one what's needed to make sure that Chantelle stays on it, rather than taking an easier tick-over fight where potentially you take your eye off the ball, and that's when upsets can happen.
You do want to stay active. I do agree with that. Anyway, moving on to one of the other fighters, Aqib Fiaz. We hadn't heard of anything about him for a few weeks. What's been going on with him?
Yeah, obviously he boxed in Eddie's back garden last year, and then unfortunately after that, sadly his mum passed away due to COVID. So he's had a bit of time out. He's also had an operation on his hand, which needed doing.
I remember saying that, yeah.
So yeah, he's now back full sparring, and just to make sure that he didn't jump straight back into a sort of relatively bigger fight, because he's still progressing. I think he's 7-0 now, so he doesn't want to be going in too deep straight away. So Steve Wood's got him on one of his shows, just to sort of dip his toe back into it, make sure the hand's all right, and then as long as everything's okay after that, he'll be back on Eddie's show.
Yeah, sounds pretty good. Is he not signed to Matchroom Boxing, Aqib Fiaz? He is.
Yeah, he's signed to Matchroom, yeah, but like I say, just they've got an agreement in place where he's allowed to box in Steve Wood shows if and when he needs to. So it sort of made sense for him to do it out of the limelight on a smaller card, just to test his hand, make sure everything's all right, and then we'll be straight back in with Matchroom.
Okay, I understand then. That's fair enough. But then obviously one of the other fighters, Jack Catterall. I mean, seeing kind of going back and forth with Josh Taylor. Do you read any of that on Twitter? Are they kind of arguing over stuff?
Yeah, just the way I look at it, it's just frustration from both sides. Obviously, Josh is still getting a lot of stick from people since the fight, and Jack's frustrated because he wants the rematch, and for whatever reason, it's not just quite happening at the moment. But fights like that sometimes are meant to happen, and it just takes a little bit of politics pushing to one side, and then eventually we'll get there in the end, and they'll definitely fight again down the line at some point. Yeah, I think so. I think it's meant to be. I don't think Josh is the type of fighter. He's proud man. He won't like the fact that he's had the negative backlash since the fight, and I don't blame him in that sense. So I know he'll want to sort of try and put that right, and Jack certainly wants the rematch. So yeah, it's just a matter of when. I don't think if, it's when.
Obviously now Jack's signed with Rebellum. Do you think the Reggie Progress fight, the Progress fight, is most likely fight next for Jack?
I don't know if next. I think the Progress fight's a massive fight, and I think fights like that should be for something rather than just a general fight. So we'll see. I really don't know. I think I seen Prograis was talking about trying to fight for the vacant WBA title, and I don't think the WBA have Jack in the mix for that. So I don't know, but I think that's a fantastic fight. I really do. And again, Prograis is a fantastic fighter, really, really, really good fighter. But I just feel like Jack's got the style to beat everyone in that division.
Is it quite nice having one of your fighters signed for Bellum, which means you can then go to Dubai every few months, training, fighting out there, and the flights?
Well, if that does happen, but Probellum's last show, Rocky Fielding lives in Dubai, and his last fight was in Liverpool, so it doesn't always happen like that. But it's like saying when Carl Frampton was with Top Rank, and we had a couple of outings over there in Las Vegas or over in America. So yeah, I suppose it's perks of the job.
They can't be too bad. Jamie, thanks for the time, mate.
Cheers, mate. Nice one, Fred.